What's going on? It's your boy back at you again with another Tommy Reads X-Men. Today, we are looking at X-Men number 33 from June 1967, written by Roy Thomas again, with art by Warner Roth. This one is called Into the Crimson Cosmos. Now, we start off real weird, to be honest with you. We start off with the narrator, I guess Roy Thomas or Stan Lee or whoever, in the little box saying, you know what, this issue, we're going to let the Juggernaut recap what's going on, because it is a two-parter, and you can actually get the link to that first part in my description below. But the Juggernaut, who's walking to an airstrip to steal, basically he's going to steal a plane to go to Europe and talk to Factor 3, more on that in a minute. He decides to narrate to, I guess, himself. He's just walking and talking about how he beat up the X-Men, and now he's gonna go here and do this, and he's, feeling great. And all of a sudden the military attacks him, and it don't go well for the military, because he's the Juggernaut. And he decides to take out the military. Actually, he just stops him. He, hits the ground, and, some dirt comes up and it blocks them from getting to him. So he didn't kill nobody. So, I mean, there's that. But, yeah, he smashes them up, the military, and decides to keep going and stuff like that. Meanwhile, we go back to the X-Mansion. Now, Charles, if you remember from last issue, is actually in a coma. He tried to, he kept his brother prisoner in the mansion. Let's not forget that. He kept his brother prisoner, the Juggernaut, and he decided to try to get the Juggernaut powers out of him. It didn't go well for Papa Chuck, and now he's in basically almost a comatose state. Now, Jean uses this machine, almost a Cerebro-like machine, to try to wake Charles out of it. Now, this has happened before. They even mention she does it back in issue 20 of the X-Men. And, that time it worked, but this time they're having some problems. But through Charles's memories, Jean gets a vision of a young version of the Ancient One. Now, that's funny to say, like a young, ancient one. But yeah, he kind of looked like Charles, to be honest. He was like bald head and attitude. And he's fighting, let's see if I pronounce this correctly. He's fighting Zorak, X-O-R-A-K. Zorak, right? I don't know. Anyway, Zorak the Outcast. And they're fighting, and the Ancient One traps Zorak in the amulet that the amulet that the Juggernaut got his powers from. Little bit about the Ancient One in the Marvel movie. The Ancient One was played by Tilda Swinton. Well, whatever. Tilda played the Ancient One. And Ancient One is, deeply into the Marvel mystical side and, all these powers and whatnot. So the X-Men think, we need to contact this Ancient One. And so they reconfigure Beast does, Cerebro or whatever, to be like a kind of tuning fork, try to get hold of this Ancient One. And when they hit the switch to contact that person, then who shows up? But Dr. Stephen Strange. That's right, Dr. Strange has a cameo in this one, y'all. And he says, and he shows up in his astral form, like how Charles goes astral plane. He shows up like a ghost. And then the little box, they let us know that in his own series, Tales to Astonish, or Tales of Suspense, I forget which one, Dr. Strange in that storyline is actually on trial. So literally he's sitting there, like OJ, and he's like, Meanwhile, his astral plane self is dealing with these kids. Now, he's like, the Ancient One's dead, how can I help? And the X-Men is like, who is you? And he's like, oh, you don't know who I am? I'm Doctor Strange. Recognize? A legend. Like, it's weird at this point, being a comic book reader for so long, it's weird to think that there was a time when the X-Men were very much to themselves. They were hiding their mutantness. And, they decided, they didn't really know too many people. And so, them getting to know the other superheroes is actually kind of cool. Like, you get the first introductions and stuff like that. And it's just weird because, even in the Marvel movies, everybody kind of knows who everybody is. Or they get real acquainted real quick. And, by now in the comics, everybody knows who everybody is. And, there's no need for introductions. But basically, the X-Men were like, who's this guy with the weird mustache? And he was like, oh, well, if you don't need my help, then deuces. Peace out. And they're like, no. Wait. We need help. You're cool, Doctor Strange. And then he basically tells them, he listens to the situation. He's like, which we don't get. It happens off panel or in between panels. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I can teleport y'all, but just 2 of you, because I ain't got the strength to be doing the whole team. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, yeah, so 2 of you. And so Scott's like, well, I'm leader, so I'm 1. And then he picks Jean. Now, in his bloop, 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 in his thought bubble, he's like, now, did I pick Jean because, you know, that's my genie? You know what I'm saying? That's my genie. Anyway. Stupid. Or did he pick? Did I pick her because she's a strong telepath? Now I want to think it's the latter, but it could be the former. I don't know who he's winking at, but you know. Anyway, so Scott and Jean are getting ready to go. No point yet in this issue have they questioned what was Charles thinking keeping the Juggernaut prisoner. They're just like, oh, you know, well, whatever. But, or have they? Because what they end up doing to, you know, keep Charles, you know, alive or whatever, I don't know if this is some sweet revenge or they just, well, this machine's lying around. Like, they put Charles in the same machine that he kept the Juggernaut in the coma. So they're both, like, you know, his brother Kane, the Juggernaut, was in the coma, and he kept him in this weird machine, and now they threw Papa Chuck in there to preserve him. But really, it was just like, you know, let's give this guy a taste of his own medicine. So Papa Chuck's in there. Scott and Jean decide, okay, we're the 2 going. Now, Doctor Strange is like, he basically emailed to their brains this incantation and different stuff that they needed there. Like, he couldn't have told them because I guess he's pressed for time. I mean, he is on trial. But yeah, so he's like, for what? I don't know. I didn't look it up. So he sends them there, and then he's like, zap, you're in Korea. Now, Doctor Strange, just as a quick aside, like almost as if he forgot, was like, oh, by the way, you guys, you have an hour to do this. If you don't do it in an hour, you're probably going to be stuck in this amulet for the rest of your lives. And they're like, no sooner are they like, we only got 4 minutes to save the world. When Doctor Strange is like, zap. So all of a sudden, they're like, hey, we're in Korea. Now, how they got that from, Strange didn't really tell them unless, on the comic, unless he zapped it into their brains. But, like, how did they know they're in Korea? Because when we saw was them in front of, like, a cave. Now, a random cave wouldn't tell me unless there's a big-ass sign there saying, welcome to Korea. But there was not. So, Jean and Scott are in Korea, and they decide to go inside the cave where the Juggernaut first found the amulet. That cave that they find Zorak and the amulet. But he keeps calling himself the Outcast, so we're just going to call him the Outcast again. Stankonia! Now, you might be asking yourself, because I was, where's the Juggernaut? So, finally on page 10, 11, we get back to the Juggernaut, who's still walking and talking to himself. He's like, yeah, and then I'm going to steal the plane. I hope they have those cashews I like on there. And, oh, I finally arrived at the place. And he gets there, and the Juggernaut ends up running into the rest of the X-Men. I almost forgot. At one point when they're about to fight the Juggernaut, Iceman is so disrespectful. You know what? He's so disrespectful. Let me play you the clip. I can't even do it justice. Just the 3 of us against the Joker with the power to knock down a mountain. What happened to weak villains like Magneto and the Sentinels? Yo! Why are they talking mad mess against Mags? What disrespect! What's up with that, bruh? So the Juggernaut is razzing the X-Men. Angel, Beast, and Iceman get there. And they're supposed to distract the Juggernaut while Jean and Scott do their thing for the next 60 minutes. Not like that. They do some superhero work. Anyway, so they show up in the X-Copter, and no sooner do they show up that the Juggernaut destroys it completely. They try to use it to, like, I guess use the wings to, like, cut his head off or something? I don't know. They would try to use it to, like, distract him or you know, stop him. And he rips through that like, you know, a 1955 car would have ripped through a DeLorean, like tinfoil. What's happening to Jean and Scott, you say? Oh, well, we cut back to them, and they're still, pages later, fighting the Outcast. And it's not going well for them. They're, like, trapped in the amulet. And this Outcast guy, he kind of looks like Annihilus. At least the color scheme, like the Annihilus, the Fantastic Four villain. If you've read Annihilation, that's a really good miniseries. You should check it out. But yeah, so they're fighting him. It's not going well until For some odd reason, he starts freaking out when he hears Jean's watch like, you know what? What? Stone Cold Steve Austin shout out. Anyway, so he hears the ticking of the watch, and then Jean's like, oh, he's freaking out about this. I guess something to do with time. And she takes off her watch and decides to throw it like a Pokeball right at dude. And he gets hit with the watch right on the head like a Pokemon. And he's like, starts de-aging. And then he de-ages into dust. And then suddenly, for some reason, that shoots Jean and Scott right out of the ruby and back to the X mansion where he's holding the ruby. Scott is. Now, before that, he was like, oh, we probably shouldn't touch this. But now he's just holding it like a plain-ass baseball. Now, you might be asking yourself, Tommy, this review's all over the place. And that is because this issue was all over the place. We're going here. We're going to Korea. We have Strange. We have, X-copters being torn up. We have Scott and Jean holding hands, and that was somehow the most important thing to Scott, not the hour that they had to live. Mind you, they got the ruby with 1 minute to go. Now, this review is all over the place because the issue was all over the place. See, I planned this out, y'all. So Jean and Scott are back at the school, and they're like, oh, we better get in the jet and go help everyone who's fighting the Juggernaut. Now, mind you, Charles had already been left by himself, but for some reason now, when Jean and Scott left, it was like a big deal. And they leave, and then coming out of the shadows is a bunch of people who look to do some bad stuff to Papa Chuck, who's still unconscious in his Juggernaut prison tomb. And I don't know why the house booby traps didn't go off then. Is it only designed to mess with the X-Men? Like, how come, the Home Alone traps that he had in the last issue didn't go off? All these bad people, nefarious beings, are there. Anyway, we cut to the Juggernaut, again, who's still fighting the X-Men. All 5 of them are together now. And Scott has the ruby. Now, it don't do nothing to Scott, but he goes to, I don't know if he was trying the same Pokeball move that Jean did with the Outcast, but he goes to, he has it in the air, and the Juggernaut basically intercepts it, and he's like, oh, now I have the ruby, I have the power. Oh! And he ends up somehow, which they don't explain, getting sucked into the ruby. He gets sucked into the Crimson Cosmos. That's why they had the title. They mentioned it maybe twice. Yeah. And he disappears. And that's the end of the Juggernaut for now. So the X-Men decide to go back to the mansion. And they left the X-copter, which was in debris on this airfield. They left all this destruction, and they're like, oh, well, I'm sure somebody will clean it up. And they go back to the mansion, and what do they find? Nada! Papa Chuck is missing! That's right, and Scott's like, I bet you it's that Factor 3. 5 months! 5 months of teases about Factor 3. End of issue. Let me hit you with some final thoughts on this, okay? This was a 5 out of 10. And I'll tell you why. 1, let's get back to Factor 3. I've been mentioning this in a lot of videos because they've been mentioning a lot of issues. We have 5 months of teases, and then in the little box that gives you coming up next issue, seems like the X-Men are not going to be dealing with Factor 3. So that's half a year of teases. And I know it's only been a couple issues for us, but imagine you're back in 67 and you're like, what is it? What is it? It's driving me crazy. It's not like you had no internet or nothing like that. You could go look it up. You couldn't even do microfiche probably. Anyway, so that's frustrating. The issue didn't flow well. As you could tell, I kind of staggered this video real weird on purpose because that's how it felt reading it. It felt weirdly, it didn't flow. It wasn't smooth. Everybody was kind of going here and there and stuff. And nobody was ever really interesting to me, man. The action was just okay. What ends up happening, I feel is a Roy Thomas special. That's what I'm going to call it. A Roy Thomas special is he has 2 half-good ideas. We're going to have Scott and Jean dealing with cosmic power, and we're going to have the Juggernaut fighting the rest of the dudes. And, we're going to mesh that into hopefully a delicious sandwich. But nah. It's like putting cream cheese on a hot dog. It doesn't seem right. I don't know if that's tasty or not. I saw it on TV the other day, and I will try it, but I have my speculation that it's not great. Anyway, so the action, like I said, was just okay. Doctor Strange being in a cameo was pretty cool, to be honest with you. I'm not the biggest Doctor Strange fan. I don't like him in the Marvel movies, and only recently have I started getting a little bit into him reading the comics, because the 70s Doctor Strange artwork is just so crazy trippy. And a couple years ago I read like the true story behind Marvel Comics book, which I recommend. It was a really good read, and like they were like taking psychedelics and like drawing Doctor Strange comics, which makes it a little more awesome. And yeah, it was just, it's trippy artwork, and the storyline, I haven't really got into it. I haven't read too many of them, but like I said, I'm on the fence about Doctor Strange. But having him cameo here was pretty cool. Don't care about the ancient one. Anyway, so yeah, this is a 5 out of 10. It was kind of a middle of the road issue. If you like what you see, and were mildly entertained by this video, hopefully you were, please like and subscribe down here. Hit that bell notification in the corner. I don't know which one it exactly is. If this is your first time on the channel, thank you for coming. If this is your 50th time on the channel, which is weird because we just passed 50 videos, so thank you for watching them all. But if you're a longtime viewer, I appreciate you. I appreciate your support. Please tell people you know about the channel. Say there's this weird dude up there talking comics, and he also talks food reviews, and he also talks pop culture. So if you like all that stuff, this is the channel for you. Like and subscribe. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you liked, what you did. And yeah, we'll be back another issue of Tommy Reads X-Men. Thank you. Later.